the prophet, prayers and peace be upon him. Michael Hart's book, The 100 Most Influential People in the World. Whoever read that, heard about it. This is a workshop now. It's not Juma Talim. It's a workshop. So we can have some interaction if y'all don't mind. Everybody's fasting Ramadan, so I'll be doing most of the talking in this session. You don't want to say anything. I get it. I mean, you do the talking. We sitting here and listen. We fasting. I am too. Michael Hart, in the book, and it's online now, so you could check it. So I'm telling you. So the reference I'm giving you is not from the Muslim perspective. I'm giving you the non-Muslim reference. And Michael Hart was Jewish. And I'll never forget when he first wrote this book. How many of y'all remember when the book first came out? Wally, you probably remember. Okay, Imam. He was on television. He did an interview. This was way back, I think, in the 80s or early 80s, late 85, 86. He was on television. They were interviewing him. And I want to make sure that you all are fit, so I'm not stepping outside from the camera. I'm still focused. Okay, good. Let me know if I step outside. Okay, good. Thank you, Imam Omar. He was on television, and they interviewed him, and they were criticizing him. How could you pick Muhammad as number one? He 100 people in his book. It's called the world's 100 most influential people. And what he did, he said, listen, I'm not a Muslim. He said, I set out a set of criteria, qualifications. So he put down the qualifications. Who influenced the most people? Who was successful spiritually? Who was successful politically? Who was successful economically? Who was successful in the military expedition? He put out a whole list of criteria. Whose influence is still felt today in today's society. This was the list. He had no names. He had no personalities. He wasn't biased towards anyone. So once he explained this on television, he said, once I laid out the criteria, then I went looking for the personalities to see who would check the criteria. And Prophet Muhammad checked every box. Every box. The most successful religious leader, check. The most successful political leader, check. The most successful family man, check. The most successful cooperative men and alliances, forming alliances so that people work together, check. The first constitution they said written, not the United States Constitution. America's only 200-something years old. First known written constitution for people to operate, the covenant in Medina, the charter of liberty of life, pardon me, check that box. Successful family man, check that box. Money man, check, check, check. And they give you a check, don't they? You get a check. Here's your check. Prophet Muhammad was a successful businessman. Now, how many of us in here, now you know Imam Fazil, he's a businessman. Frank Khalis, most of business. How many businessmen we have in here? And businesswomen, not just business. Oh, and by the way, his wife was a successful businesswoman. Check. Jesus wasn't a businessman. Jesus wasn't a family man. Jesus wasn't a military man. Now, that's not taking anything away from Jesus. I'm just saying that wasn't his role. That wasn't his function. Moses is probably the closest to Prophet Muhammad, but the one thing Moses missing that Prophet Muhammad had, Moses was not a businessman. Moses was a builder. He built buildings. And Moses was a strategic general. He was a military man. But you can't find any examples of business success. This is Imam W.D. Muhammad. I did this on purpose. Because we got a lot of books and a lot of sayings, a lot of statements by Imam W. Muhammad. But don't you forget that he wrote Islam's Climate for Business Success. And tell me the longest chapter and longest verse in the Quran. First chapter. What's the longest chapter? Chapter 2. A young person said that. Chapter 2. What's the longest verse? 282. Everybody ought to know it. You're reading the Quran already. You should have already read that. You should have already heard that one now. What's my topic? No. Yeah, I'm supposed to write this topic on the show. And this is for our Facebook audience. See, you all, I said it here. They heard me. The Quran's concepts. Imam Tyree, this is a different presentation on what we did in New Medina. Nisha, different presentation. They were in New Medina when I did this other part, the Quran's path to success. The Quran's concepts for success. All right? So you want to look in the Quran. What does the Quran say about success? Now, Michael Hart said Prophet Muhammad was number 1. Jesus was not even number 2. I think Jesus was 3 or 4. You can go get the book. You can look it up online. I think they might even have the PDF form online where you can look it up and see the world's 100 most influential people. Muhammad the Prophet, praise and peace be upon him, is listed as number 1, and nobody has been able to knock him off the number 1 spot since he was here 1,400 years ago to this day. Complete man, successful in every respect. Was not killed, was not crucified, was not defeated. Marched back in the place that ran him out, his own homeland, Mecca, became successful. And they said when he went back in as a successful general with an army, no killing, no slaughter. They said he was magnanimous, big long word that means he was merciful. He said, I want nobody killed, nobody slain, nobody hurt. And I know, I'm saying the Quran, but the Quran is in the Prophet. The Prophet is living the Quran now. So I have to have a physical, tangible representation of success. I'm speaking concept, but where's the tangible aspect of that? Muhammad the Prophet, praise and peace be upon him. Establish. And congratulations, Imam Wazir. You just keep on keeping on, and you all helping him. Establishing community life. Imam Basil. Establishing this community life. Imam Malik over in DeSoto, where I was at. Establishing community life. Make a note of this, because I might give it to you, but I don't want to forget. But make a note. So we had a panel discussion, but write down November 6, 2005, part 2, Imam W.D. Muhammad on YouTube. Now I'm going to play it. I'm going to play it. It's only 5 minutes, but I want you to hear what Imam Muhammad says about what is a successful Muslim community for us in these United States of America. So I want to play that so you all can hear that yourself. And then if you pull it up on YouTube, you'll see it yourself. All right? So congratulations. You just keep doing what you're doing. Allah's with you and blessing you. I don't need to tell him that. I'm acknowledging that. You know, that this is what's going on here in Houston, Texas, and will continue and have been going on with you all here. Continue that. So in Medina, you see a comprehensive life in Medina. Cooperative economics, joint ventures, contracts and partnerships. That's what the Prophet ﷺ did, Muhajir, Ansars. All right? Longest verse. Somebody tell me. Who said it? Imam Tyree, you said. What's that longest verse in the Quran? 2 and 282. Holy Quran 2:282. Now that's not on success. This is on business now. I just gave it away. I meant to ask the question. What is it talking about? Business. Okay, dear Muslims, and those of you all on Facebook listening around the world, especially in Africa. This is just my thinking now. I'm the one making the presentation. So if you make the presentation, you can make another point. If the longest verse, I'm gonna do what Imam Muhammad did when he was explaining to me what was the main concern for this community. His main concern. And he told me what was not his main concern anymore. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, Tawheed, one God. He said, I'm not concerned with that anymore. We got it. Salat, he said, I'm not concerned with that anymore. We're going to pray 5 times a day like all Muslims all over the world. Ramadan, he said, I'm not concerned with that. Talking to me personally. He said, Yahya, I'm not concerned with that. 3 months before he passed, 2008, on a phone call, last 45 minutes. He said, I'm not concerned with us fasting Ramadan with the rest of the Muslims, which we're doing right now. Ramadan Mubarak to our Muslim brothers and sisters across the world. We're fasting in America just like you when we used to fast in December and we didn't fast with all the Muslims around. We thought we were right, but we were wrong, and we thought everybody else was wrong. So Imam Muhammad said he wasn't concerned with that. He said, I'm not concerned with us making Hajj anymore. In other words, I'm not concerned anymore with our religious practice. He said, but notice, Yaqya, I skipped over zakat. He said, because we don't have enough money in this community. And he said, until we establish our economic base and build that and develop that, we will remain inconsequential and we will remain insignificant and we will remain weak and we will remain small. He said, so my main concern is for business in this community. Economic establishment. That's what he told me. Now, if the longest verse is not on Salat, Allah could have put the whole 5 Salats in the Quran with one verse. It's not. If the longest verse is not, and the verse on Ramadan is a long verse. Shahr Ramadan chapter 2 verse 185. That's a long verse, but it's not the longest. The longest verse in the Quran is not on Tawheed. Actually, one of the shortest surahs in the entire Quran is on Tawheed. Qul huwa Allahu ahad, Allahu samad, lam yalid wa lam yulid, wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. 4 verses, and you're done with that. Huh? One God, right? So that's not the longest. The longest verse is not on Hajj. Even though there's a whole surah on Hajj, that surah does not talk about Hajj throughout the entire surah. It just has Hajj as its title. The longest singular verse is on business. Business relationships, contracts, agreements. So that must be very, very, very important in our community. Well, now let me ask you a question. If it's that important in the Quran, why don't we on hardly hear the Imams talking about it? The teachers who present topics and discussions to us. And I'm one of the teachers. I'm a teacher of us. And for the young imams, you young brothers here, they ask me all over the country, what advice do you have for us young imams? Get you a job, business, a career, or something to put some money in your pocket. I don't tell them study Arabic. They already know they need that. Well, if you don't know you need that, you shouldn't even be in this field. It's math. But I say to them, you don't have to make the sacrifices of an Imam Fahim or Yahya, Qasim, all that we had to make back in those days because we were building this community because Imam Muhammad needed folk to study the deen and study the religion. So we had to change it and bring it up. Now that we have set those foundation pillars and built upon that, now I say to them, Imam Fahim, you need to have a career to take care of your family. Let me tell you what Imam Muhammad told me back in the late 80s when I was in Dallas, when he used to come from Little Rock, Arkansas. He'd drive over there, and my buddy Marzouk is not here, but the Imam helped us develop Dallas, Texas. He would come for dawah. A lot of people don't know this. He'd just drive over. We just set up something, go on the radio, TV. Then I start flying him in on Southwest Airlines. And he would be in the masjid on Harwood. He'd be shaving sometime. He'd say, Imam Yaqya. I said, yes, sir, brother, man. This is late 80s, Imam Fahim, early 90s. And he did this across the span of time. He would tell me personally. He said, listen to me carefully. Stay in business. Young Imam. He said, when these masjids get tired of you, they will kick you to the curb and don't care nothing about you. That's what the leader told me. Personally. So I say to you all, stay in business. Don't go out of business. If they call you, where you at? I'm opening my store. I got this money about to come in here. Get brother so-and-so can get a cup bar. He wanted to teach last week anyway. Let him go on and do it. They called me out of Kansas. I shouldn't even name the city. In fact, I'll pass that up. I won't say that. It's Ramadan. I'm going to leave that alone. I'll leave it alone. But I gave my young friend over